he has on that slippery hero.
Yeah, I think this is one of those games where it's like, guys, let's not hit the enemy heroes. Let's hit the towers instead, you know? Because Weaver as well, it's nearly possible. Maybe if you get a nice Winter's Curse off on one of them, that'll help. But you don't have much control. You know, the Visage Familiars are slow. Boundless Strike doesn't last very long. You can see the Marcy jumping into dispose someone. And the other two heroes don't even have stuns. I mean, Winter's Curse is sort of a stun, but it's not amazing.
Yeah, not quite amazing. You can see as well, this is something we've been missing from our earlier series. Both of these teams love the voice lines. T1 in particular enjoyed him. So you should be expecting a lot more of that as the game goes on. And the tips as well, already getting a lot of them. Lots of back and forth. T1 is basically almost a fully Filipino team now. Polaris back to full Filipino team as well. So it's one of those rare cases where we do have a bit of a rambulan going on. A bit of a fist fight between two Filipino teams. Xavius saying that, thanks, you finally noticed me. To Gabby and the tip, so a little bit of a back and forth between them. Always good to see.
In the meantime, AU taking quite a bit of damage here, but Gabby hasn't put a skill point on anything, so they're not too serious about killing him. But I say quite a bit. He loses about 2/3 of his life. Probably will be fine by the time he eats the second tango and the lane starts.
Still grouping up here on Polaris' end, getting a run up to the high ground of T1. Gabby not quite getting any skill points up yet. No Arctic Burn, so Polaris should be able to find a little bit more for the trouble. Carl just zapping away at the puck. Doesn't manage to get too much. Still ends up being a 2-for-2 on the runes. So still a stable start for both sides. Gonna take a look at that top lane while we've got time here. Whitemon on the Winter Wyvern with Gabby on the Monkey King laning up against Xavius on the Tiny and Force on the DP. So how do you feel about this lane up top?
I kind of favor the Monkey King as well as the Winter Wyvern. A good lift by the Tiny could get a kill on the Winter Wyvern, but overall, I like it. They got a good amount of slows, they got a good amount of damage here. They should be able to do something. By the way, AU was able to get a nice D-ward in the bottom lane. They spot out that Beijing put a cliff ward, and he was able to get it. So that's a solid start for him.
Yeah, just taking away a little bit of that vision. And down bot, of course, AU is hanging around with Natsumi on the Weaver. Already a good dispose out onto AU. Can't underestimate the damage from Cuckoo. That Soul Assumption does find that kill. So first blood already for Cuckoo. The aggression coming out. Is this something that just kind of builds up for T1? You've got the Visage off. You've got a Marcy. You've got a lot of jump and damage to play with here.
Yeah, and they're going to be targeting this Clockwork quite a bit, you know. Once he gets level 2 and he has cogs, it's a little bit better. But it all comes down to, what I love about those small decisions end up making a big impact. All came down to that harass in the top bounty. They harassed the AU to very low HP, used all his tangos. He goes back to the lane. He doesn't have as much health. He's half life, and they just kill him. It's crazy to see how these small things happen. Although not so taking a little harass as well.
He's copying some damage there. He does have to kind of watch out and the uptime on that Chikuchi isn't too high just yet. 15-second cooldown to level 1. You also saw AU having to smoke back down to get into that lane. Does have 2 sets of tangos. It's a little bit more coming through, but do you expect any counterplay coming out here from the side of Polaris as well? Like, is this something that can get aggressive, the Clockwork plus the Weaver? As they do find Force up top. So Gabby and T1 already off to a great start. That lane, as you mentioned, it's shaping up for T1. The slowest damage is coming through.
Yeah, just how are you, like when you throw back, I mean, he's actually level 2, but he doesn't have a skill point or anything. If you throw back the Winter Wyvern, you can just fly away. If you throw back the Monkey King, you give him a couple of Jingu stacks, he'll be fine. It doesn't have the same ability for Polaris. Like, it feels like a very defensive lane for them. So maybe they should try to focus a little more on surviving. We'll see. 6-1 on Force compared to the 11-5 on Gabby. There's so much denies coming out for him.
And just controlling the lane really well. Does get the Avalanche off with no toss back. As mentioned, Gab just building up those Jingus now. Has the full stack onto Xavius and should just melt away. The damage is there. And Gabby, another kill onto the Monkey King. And again, T1 just getting that strong laning start so far. Gonna take a look at the mid just a bit as well. Lelouch has been kind of struggling up against Carl. Not by too much, but he has built up his Cuckoo once again. Finds a kill down bot onto Natsumi this time. Another dispose out onto AU. And a Soul Assumption out. Stick charges were there to provide burst healing, but gonna have to self-sustain that lane now.
Bounty run still not taken by anyone, but it is 4-0 for T1. That seems like an earlier loss for Polaris, kind of hurting them. And Carl, he just zaps the damage from Lelouch and forces him to sprout, which is a pretty interesting thing. It's not something I've seen a lot. You don't see Razor versus Puck very often, but it's a very interesting way to just force him to go out the lane.
Yeah, and you still have play on Puck, as we see. You can just kind of rift away from the plasma field, so you don't have to worry about that output. But so far, Carl has been controlling this lane well. 21-8 up against Lelouch's 16-0. Is this something that you normally expect when it's a Razor against the Puck?
I mean, you take a little bit of damage, it's easy for him to get denied. Same thing with the Monkey King. You just can like substantially increase your right-click damage while reducing that. Well, not reducing that. For Carl, he can reduce it, but and yeah, it's hard for the Puck. He's got to get his last hits only with the Illusory Orb and Waning Rift. So there's quite a bit of downtime.
Xavius in trouble again, getting slowed down by the Arctic Burn, but not fully committed from Gabby. A little bit too far. Still manages to get the Jingu stacks though. Chases and force down, slowly poking him with his stick. And that should be another kill for Gabby. He misses one right click though. Splinter Blast will clean up, and Whitemon picks that one up for himself.
Yep, and Gabby is really having a good time in this game. This is a do or die series, by the way. If you win, you make it all the way to the lower brackets semi-finals, I believe. Whereas if you, or is it no, you make it all the way to the lower bracket finals. My bad. And if you lose, you're just out of the tournament. You cannot go to ESL Ginting.
Yeah, every team, both of these teams have to be hungry for that win. And so far, T1's just showing us how much hungry they are. Finding a 0-5 start, less than 1k lead, so it's not really amounting to too much of a gold lead just yet, but does provide them the momentum, the EXP that they're going to want as well early on here. For Polaris now, with this kind of rough start, where's the momentum supposed to come out for them?
I mean, we said it during the draft. It has to be from Lelouch, right? It has to be when he's active and ready to make space for the team. Later on, things do get better for Polaris. The enemy's lockdown is not amazing. The team fight from Polaris is pretty solid. Once you get the Exorcism and you got the Dream Coil, it's kind of hard to fight into that. So it's not like it's not over, you know. By instance, it's only 5 minutes to 1k advantage for talent. Sorry, for T1.
It's not the biggest lead yet, but they are about to
Not
hit
yet.
some level spots.
Not yet.
Yeah, Cuckoo's about to get the familiars up on his level 5. Natsumi has managed to work the lane a little bit better, is up there in the CS, but you know, it's a Weaver. It kind of needs to hit that early timing here as well. For Lelouch on the Puck, I mean, he does have level 6 ready. He hasn't skilled a point yet. He's on the hunt.
I mean,
Carl grabbed a regen, but backs off.
I would underestimate the Weaver carry. A couple weeks ago, or more like a month ago, I was casting the DPC for North America, Division 2, and we saw Weaver carry versus Alchemist carry. And I was like, all right, you know, he's going to trash him. He's going to destroy him. And then the Weaver was just able to keep up scaling and was able to take him. So Weaver, not somebody had, you know, he's a legit carry on this Weaver. It can work. Top lane, though.
Get the dispose off onto Force. Raging Potato just showing up to provide that avenue for Gabby. Jingu's all up. Takes a little bit more with the Spirit Siphons, but not enough to sustain for Force with all that output. 0-6 now in T1's favor, and this Monkey King is, again, shaping up to be quite the beast this game.
That's a problem. The fact that we've lost Force 3 times so far, he's only level 4 in about 7 minutes. Level 4.5, sorry. This is an issue because you kind of need the Death Prophet to be your damage dealer for towers at least. And that means that the towers for T1 will last a lot longer than they should. The game plan for Polaris not working out so far.
And look at this, Carl sneaking around at the backside of that tier 1. It's a static link, not for too long at the Saviors, but they're still keeping that chase up. Forced into the tree line as well. Carl not under any major pressure. Plasma field ready. Does not clip Xavius somehow. Still got the clarity running there and should be safe. You can just see T1 with the aggression. That is a lot of space for Lelouch down mid. Still keeping chase boundless up. Gabby sees Xavius, gets the stun off. Tiny is not going to last for too long. Does stall out with the Avalanche, trying to run away. Gabby gets the Jingu off. One more right click to do the job. Whitemon keeping watch as well. Should be able to feed this one to their Monkey King. Still trying to juke. Arctic Burn. A toss back. Great stalls from Xavius, but not going to be enough with the burn damage. And Whitemon actually still finds it anyway, despite that tree dent. So, again, 0-7. So far, perfect from T1. Raging copying the tower damage to save that siege creep. And Cold Embrace comes out. It's going to be an early push.
Lelouch is here though, might go straight for Raging Potato, get that kill. And there goes the
Coil
recoil.
Only onto one, only onto Carl, and Carl caught into Cogs, but you still find that kill onto AU. They do find Raging Potato for their trouble. Keeping the chase up. Natsumi early on in this fight. Toss out from Lelouch does connect onto Carl. Avalanche to stall. Gabby starting to drop low. Is taken away. Natsumi and the Weaver weaving in and out.
Baby.
It's just working out. He shows up top and he gets it done.
See, that's the Weaver carry. That's what he can do. You know, you show up, you're very mobile, hard to pin down, and he comes in. Great, like, I think he did what most of the damage is. Oh, no. He and Lelouch, insane amounts of damage, 3,000 between them. They are able to get 4 kills between. It's good. It's what they need. It cuts down the T1's advantage to basically nothing, though.
Yeah, it does nullify. That's a huge gold swing going the way of Polaris. And that's a lot of momentum coming out. You mentioned that momentum coming out from Lelouch. Gets great use out of his rotation. And they, start to build up a little bit more. Hold back from the aggression of T1. T1, though, Cuckoo camping down mid, already has that early Vlad's up and running on the Visage. And with the Familiars up, with that Vlad's, it doesn't take too long to multi his objectives.
Yeah, and I'm a little surprised that, I don't think Cuckoo was in the top lane fight, but yeah, it takes a mid-tier 1, and that opens up the map more.
Top, Raging under a bit of trouble. Avalanche out from Xavier's stall, but there's the familiar stunts coming through from Cuckoo. Is it enough? Natsumi in the front line does have time lapse. Does manage to get away. Shikuchi is maxed out as well. So a lot harder to pin down. T1 though is still chasing. No level 6 on Whitemon with Chris, so no hold. And they do manage to at least prevent any losses from that top lane.
But but for T1, they might consider going for the tower. Cuckoo is here. And yeah, this tower is already pretty low HP. The T1 not only they're shutting down this map pretty well, which is a bit quite surprising considering that I thought that Polaris with the Death Prophet would be able to do at least equalize in terms of towers.
Just not able to use force in the way that they'd want to. I mean, he's got the EXO up, but it's as you mentioned, he had a very slow laning start. Gabby and Whitemon were able to run him down. And he doesn't have too much in itemization, and he still can't go out to the point where he can just EXO and look for that tower kill. T1 just still staying clumped up. A bit of a smoke out from Polaris, though. Flanking with Lelouch and AU. No hookshot yet in the clock. Lelouch is ready to go with a Dream Coil. Could find Carl hanging around in this jungle.
Tough kill.
Managed to find him. Dream Coil out. Can they get him? Snap on the coil. AU comes in. Winter's Curse immediately out from Whitemon to counteract, and AU's gone. On to Lelouch they go. The punches fly out from Raging. They find 2 kills for their trouble, and the tips are flying out. Carl's feeling himself.
Yeah, that was a weird one because they're up against a guy with 1,500 health and 2 infused raindrops, while your damage is mostly magical with the puck. I mean, obviously they should have known it. Also, they have a ward here, so they should have spotted all this out. That was just a bit of a misplay by Polaris.
Yeah, just forcing the issue. And trying to jump up, maybe not expecting Whitemon in the back line there, as their vision's only in the forward area of that jungle. There are still good stacks for Carl to clear out as well. Not the biggest, but he's making great progress onto that BKB, and T1 still getting that push going up top anyway. Cuckoo's still camped there with the Familiars, working onto his Orchid. Tower doesn't have long left here. Using that Brave Chill to speed up the attacks as well. And they just melted. No defense coming out from Polaris.
It's like they can't really.
Oh, yeah, just a bit of an avalanche onto Carl. They're grouping up mid here, Ultimo. They've got the EXO.
Whitemon he doesn't have his ultimate for about 15 seconds left, and yeah, just Whitemon shows up by himself, is able to push them away. He's actually maxed out the Arctic Burn, which is we're seeing usually maxed out the Splinter Blast, maybe 2 points in the Arctic, but he maxed out huge bonus attack rate, 500.
Yeah, and just really good percent burn as well, right? Onto something like the Death Prophet, onto the Tiny. These are heroes that don't really enjoy that, especially the Tiny with his strength scaling. So it just makes an easy way for Whitemon to get good damage off. Smoke out from T1 here. Curse is back up. Cuckoo, Raging, and Whitemon grouped up here, using the Familiars to scout ahead. Polaris, they've only really got Xavius hanging around down bot for now. The rest kind of backing off at the right moment. It's not going to be the biggest kill.
This Tiny is quite far from his Blink Dagger. Still needs about 1,500 gold just to get it. And we talked about like how this is kind of annoying problem with Tiny support, right? You gotta have a good game to get the Blink Dagger. Polaris, they're kind of seems like they might want to fight this.
Hook shot. They catch out Whitemon, isolating the Winter Wyvern, but she still manages to fly away. Lelouch does get the Dream Coil onto the tree. Where's the follow-up? Cuckoo trying to drop those familiars down. Gabby's still around the area. Still has the damage. Curse out onto Xavius to hold him back. They still managed to lose Whitemon. Cuckoo starting to drop a bit low, being chased down. Natsumi getting the damage off, and now Gabby in the spot of danger gets tossed up. Does not manage to really maximize his Jingu yet, but still alive. Natsumi with a chase though. Does find him, but Carl cleans up in the end. Xavius going for the TP. They do not have the familiar stuns off cooldown. So 4 for 3 in the end there.
And overall, you're pretty. I mean, you lost all the cores on Polaris. T1, yeah, it's also unfortunate they lost Gabby as well as Cuckoo, but they're gonna be happy with that, especially if they can turn this into a tier 1 bottom, just like they will. So overall, T1 pretty happy with how that fight went.
They managed to clean up a bit. Maybe stings a little bit to lose Natsumi, but you know, you force a lot out from T1. You slow down Gabby. You are still gonna lose this bot tier 1 though. Familiars are there. Cuckoo shows up once more. Doesn't take too long for that push, and it feels like the big issue out was still that push. I mean, you mentioned that DP. They still haven't been able to leverage it at all on Polaris' end.
And that fight just now, by the way, was one of the best fights that Polaris could have got. They got a good hookshot on 2, followed by a 3-man Dream Coil, and still the fight went pretty negatively for them in the end. To be fair, Natsumi didn't get his ultimate off, but it's a scary situation if you are on Polaris' side. You might need something like to sneak Roshan if you can, or a couple of pickoffs to get back into the game.
Yeah, 7-14, 3k lead for T1. Just managing to get a strong foundation out from the lanes. They are still inching towards that blink for Xavius, but again, as you mentioned, still a ways off. Natsumi playing tag with Carl. Won't be able to get out, but maybe not the same circumstance for AU. Does have the hook shot away. Looks like T1's not going to fully commit. They do get space for Lelouch to shove in top, though. So the puck is, also building into that blink here. Has the Witchblade up, some damage coming through. Would the double blinks be all Polaris would need to maybe force some fights their way?
No, it feels like they'll need a little bit more somehow. What is Natsumi going to go for? It's going to go for the SNY, which is nice stats, but not a whole lot of damage. So I do think that they'll need a little bit more after that. I want to say the problem is I want to say BKB on Natsumi, but that's also not a huge amount of damage either. So they can't take a 5-on-5. It has to be pickoffs for them most of the time.
Oh, look at that. Raging, going very far with the Tumbler Story. This push onto Force. Hook shot from AU does cut off Cuckoo. And it's starting to melt in the middle, but they share the damage. He gets blown up by that Avalanche toss and Dream Coil coming through. Carl still standing forward. Has the BKB. Will BKB TP away. This Whiteman's caught in the middle. Does have the curse, but doesn't see a good target. Cold Embrace to stall. No one coming to his rescue though, and is going to be sacrificed. A much cleaner fight for Polaris there.
A little bit of an overdive there by Raging Potato. You know, he used everything he had. The rebound, the Tumbler Story, all to get to try to catch the Death Prophet, and then she was just able to survive no problem. And no Gabby as well, so that wasn't the full 5-on-5. Polaris had the numbers, and they basically had initiation on their side. That's their second tower of the game. They're slowly taking these towers down. Suddenly, the net worth advantage for T1 just evaporated.
Yeah, it's not quite there anymore. Less than 1k going the way of Polaris now. And one good thing for T1 though, with how far away Gabby is from the fights, he is farming quite nicely with a Battle Fury. So the Monkey King Battle Fury online into the BKB next. Smoke out from T1 here though. Still have that curse. Carl again ready to go with a BKB on cooldown for 30 seconds. Might not be necessary in the right circumstance. Gonna go in, check it out. They've seen Natsumi and AU. Not quite, but they will find AU at the least. Great cogs from AU to stall a little bit, but hook shots away as well, and AU's fine. Great angles coming through there.
Yeah, and I like how his friends were also there just to make sure he has something to hook shot to break. Just overall, but a couple of good solid mids for Polaris right now.
Cool. Scouts out a little bit. Almost gets caught out. Xavius does have the blink, but doesn't manage to find the angle. So
Orchid's gonna come out for Cuckoo, which is interesting because, you know, Weaver, it stops him from using all his spells, but he's also going for Sanjinyesh. He's got some status resistance, he's got Essence Ring, he's got 9 strength. Like, I don't know if the Orchid... We'll find out, of course, soon enough, but the Orchid is good for pickoffs. I'm not sure they'll be able to actually pick off Natsumi most of the time.
Yeah, it feels like they just want an additional way of preventing that time lapse, perhaps. Maybe preventing the puck from jumping around here as well for Lelouch. Nothing defensive coming out yet. Smoke out, but awkward. Invis already out from Carl. He just breaks it. So immediately spotted out. They drop the sentry a bit too late, and Carl still has the BKB. Will walk away. And his hookshot's still there. AU wants to go for this, but the backup's a bit slow, and Carl is still moderately fine. Does get Avalanche tossed out with the Dream Coil break, and Carl is gone. T1 not grouping up behind them all too fast, but here comes Raging. Does not manage to get the Disposed Silence, is out. Still running away from that Wukong. So damage is coming through from Gabby. The toss out does not save. Curse out onto Savius. Damage is flying through, catching out Force as well. He is still alive on the tiny though, but rebound forward, jump away from Gabby, and they find 2 for Cuckoo.
Good. I mean, they lost Carl. That was a great, good move by AU to just drop the center. He's like, okay, our smoke's broken, just drop it straight away. They go straight, but they end up losing 2. The Lush as well as Xavius. They do get Carl though. Still not what you want. And T1 all are able to are going to go for Roshan as well. Buyback coming out here. They really want to stop this. Lush 10 seconds though.
Yeah, they do have the blink up on Xavius, so maybe expecting a little bit of a toss play. Try to snipe that Aegis away. T1 still staying fairly clumped up in there. Natsumi can try to scout. They've got good vision coverage on T1 Sendo. And we jump forward. Xavius with a toss back, and the Avalanche does kill off Raging. Great hook shot onto 2, catching Gabby at the back. Xavius still dropping low, is taken away, but Force with BKB holding his ground. Gabby getting some good hits with a Boundless. Time Lapse is there to save. And the Dream Coil just to clean up Whitemon. 2 already gone, but the dieback in Xavius is there. So it does even out, and that could allow Polaris to clean up Roche. Force still has some good time on the Exo, not quite enough, and Carl spots it out, gets a static link. Roche is about to fall. Force does get Aegis. Immediately loses it and sacrifices Natsumi. Force, second life, not going to be able to do much with it, as the rest of T1's there to clean up. And a lot of commitment from Polaris, but it bites them in the bum there, Optimo.
Yeah, that was... I mean, we said this. It's T1 has the advantage in terms of team fight, and right now Polaris, they kind of force it. When we saw them win fights, usually when they have the superior numbers, when they T1 overextends. This was T1 fully aware that they're going to come for them. They were like waiting in the Roche pit. It kind of looked okay for Polaris, but in the end it was, what? They lost 5 people. There was a dieback on Xavius, so that's he died twice. They were able to at least, did they get the Roshan kill? Yes, they got the Roshan kill, so it's not a complete disaster, but very near. It's a catastrophe. Which one's worse, a catastrophe or a disaster? Are they the same thing?
I'd say a catastrophe is much, much worse than a disaster.
Fine, then it was a disaster. It wasn't a catastrophe.
Yes, there you go. Not quite catastrophic, but not very good either. Yes, they are still on the hunt with Gabby. BKB is flying out now. On to the Mage Slayer next, probably going for that Blood Torn on the Monkey, perhaps, mitigating some of that damage output as well on the Magic side here for Polaris. Gonna be a good way of preventing that burst action from coming true. Still on the hunt, but not gonna be able to find the Lucian aside. And T1 back to the lead at 5k, 13-22. For Polaris, what do they play around now? Like, you are seeing Natsumi willing to show up with just the SNY. Is it maybe about pickoffs more for Polaris with all their mobility and blinks?
That's one of them. Another thing is that, like we said, there's very little catch on T1, at least like serious catch they should be worried about. So you can see Natsumi pushing top lane. They might do something with the puck as well, where they can really delay the game with that. So that could be it. They might say, like, listen, even pickoffs are too risky because T1, they're holding hands. You know, they're walking all together. So I like what Natsumi's doing, just trying to push now. He's almost going to get a tier 2 top just by himself. And now could be a time for them to engage on Polaris.
Yeah, Natsumi forces the 2 TPs up top. No one.
They even smoke. They're going for it.
Get the smoke out down bot, looking for the chase forward, but T1's also smoked up. So they're not going to be caught out just yet. Smoke breaks from Gabby. Monkey King powers right there. We don't see him yet. They're not chopping the trees. Still safe. Does manage to jump in. Cuckoo goes in with the Orchid right onto AU.
Nice
Get
save.
a cost pack on Force. But Gabby with the BKB still wants more. AU holding them back. Dream Coil out onto Whitemon. Hook shot away for AU as Whitemon starting to drop fairly low up front. And backline as well. Natsumi trying to get some damage off. Carl with a BKB. Not going to be stopped by the Avalanche. Still keeping chase. Orchid out now after the time lapse. Natsumi is going to be gone. Force standing his ground, trying to sustain for the team. They find Raging in exchange. A 3-for-1 so far in favor of Polaris is tossed forward. Carl, BKB's gone. He's going to be able to scurry away with a buyback on Whitemon to prevent any further aggression.
A good win for Polaris, and it all comes down to that Natsumi push. He knew that people are going to go back to defend, so he pushed the lane, and then when they saw people TP back, he's like, all right, guys, let's just go. I love it. Very nice move by Polaris. Cuts the network lead a little bit by T1, forces that buyback coming out from Whitemon. It's they need to do a little bit more of this. You know, it's not even. A couple more of these, and Polaris will take the lead.
Yeah, I think the big thing as well was T1 felt confident coming in there, Otmar. They break the smoke with Gabby. He doesn't get chopped from his tree. He gets a decent enough Wukongs, but there was no follow-up. The rest of T1 just a bit too scattered to get that follow-through on that engagement. And that's all the time necessary for Polaris to kind of build up there. They are starting to get pretty big on Natsumi. You know, number 3 core right now, not too far behind from Carl and Gabby. Is going into a Linken's for protection, into the Daedalus for the damage. So looking to rectify that issue there and just melt heroes. For T1, I mean, what else do you do to kind of try to catch that Weaver? Because once that Linken's up, it feels like the Orchid's not going to cut it.
No, but it could be... I mean, what you want to do is Winter Curse someone next to the Weaver. You know, that way you can hold him. But overall, the Weaver is just kind of getting a lot of free reign. They do bring him down to generally in the fight later on, but he's usually able to do a lot of damage, takes a lot of resources. If you kill everyone else, Weaver won't be able to fight. So we'll see if that's what they want to go for. And also, at least Boundless Strike, followed by Visage Familiars. These are all like ground-targeted spells. They aren't blocked by the Lincolns. And I don't understand why these guys are complaining about Mike. Have they seen my mic? Have they seen what I'm working with?
You know how it is. They've always got a little bit of a reason for the pauses. Mike or Discord, they say. Smoke out from T1. Trying to run forward here into the jungle, into the triangle. Could be a decent enough flank, but Polaris is all the way on the opposite side now. Gonna have to make a long jump away. Carl is showing mid, so he's not joining in for this one. We're gonna have to take a bit of an angle forwards. Gabby getting the scouting going. Good position for Polaris here, but they are on the low ground now, so it can be awkward. Smoke breaks in Gabby, spots a lot of them. They see him jump across, immediate BKB from Force, forcing Gabby to BKB as well. Trying to get the hits off, but Force is just too durable with that spell immunity. Sideline, Lelouch does manage to jump the back line along with Xavier's getting tossed back onto Tree. Nice big hook shot onto Tree as well. Curse out the save for now. AU gonna survive Tree. They hold Natsumi, but can't really damage Drew. Force the time lapse early. Force still holding the front line with Spirit Siphons. It is isolated now. And T1 manages to find that angle. Great come around from Polaris to look for the rear, but just not quite enough to win out that fight.
And again, it's like AU is doing a lot of work in these fights, but it's just not enough. He gets a 3-man hookshot into Cogs, and they just can't get to anything.
Ooh, Lelouch. He canceled his TP. Maybe expecting the Boundless is playing tag, jukes out nicely, but again has no escape here outside of just using the orb, and is going to be forced to orb all the way across. The scan spots him though, so still on the chase. They see him. Can they get the angle? Tree Dance out, Boundless out as well. Need more. Orchid out from Cuckoo, forcing out the Yules. We'll have the blink up. Does manage to blink away to safety. Very slippery on the puck, but Gabby's still keeping vision. Not gonna go all the way, but man, you can see just how slippery Lelouch can be if the control's not stacked properly.
And that's a lot of time wasted, by the way, by Lelouch. Everyone's up by Polaris, so that team fight victory for T1 didn't really get them any objectives afterwards. They just kind of focused down, tried to kill Lelouch. So great play by him to stay alive in that situation. Maybe that canceled TP was 200 IQ. Maybe we're like he probably missed it. Although AU, I don't know if this is 200 IQ.
Yeah, hook shots away, trying to stall for time. Cog stalls out the chase as well. A little bit of an awkward incline from that staircase, but AU is still set to fall. Plasma Field cuts him off, and AU is going to be food for Carl. So another one for the Razor, inching closer to that refresh. Once that's up, it's the key timing for the Razor. Number 1 in net worth, right in front of Gabby. Timings are all set for T1 here.
It's tough for Polaris. Like everything's going really well for T1 right now. And looking at any items they're going for, the Shiva's Guard and the Death Prophet will make a big difference. There's so much physical damage coming out from T1. I think it's basically all physical damage at this point. So they can get a couple of armor items, the Flads, a Buckler. That would help them out a lot. Weaver is finally building damage, which, we've been talking about, harping on about this damage problem from Polaris. Daedalus will help a lot with that.
Just inching closer towards it for Natsumi. Hits his level 20 as well. So has a little bit more damage on the Geminute as well, plus 90 on that one. The right clicks are amping up. The T1, and they still maintain a 6k lead. They're the ones kind of working the map. They see Lelouch once more. Blink forward with the Dispose and the Boundless. Do they have enough time? They do. Clean up Lelouch, stepping a bit too far on the puck. And they get a great curse out as well from Whitemon, just holding down AU, but is enough to find that kill Jetpack to try and run away. It does hook shot down, so just drags him closer to the team, which allows T1 to jump on top of Xavius now, clean up the Tiny, and possibly gun for that mid.
And by the way, a lot of that kill on Lelouch, all thanks to Raging Potato taking that 0.5 seconds Dispose talent. If he hadn't taken that, because it was just barely there, they were able to get the kill. And it's T1, they're just going to punch high ground, and what are you going to be able to do if you're Polaris? You have a buyback on Lelouch, but don't really want to use it when both of your supports are down as well.
Not quite the circumstance for that. They do clear out the one familiar. The resummons there on Cuckoo. Full Scotty up now on Gabby as well. And great take, and look at this timer for Roche. It's going to be up. They've got vision on it as well with the other familiar. T1 have a clean objective to go for next.
T1 just playing like really nice by Cuckoo just to have that familiar there, and now they're just going to go for it. Or will they? We'll find out. Everyone's alive on Polaris, so this could be a little bit risky. Carl's not around either. He can TP to the outpost.
Smoke out. Being sneaky, going into the high ground, knowing that Polaris will want to fight, and they spot them out. Great wards. Silence immediately out in AU. They get the stun onto Force as well. Avalanche to break off for now. Toss back on Gabby as well. BKB is ready to go, as they are trying to fight inside. Trying to burst down Whitemon for anything else, and they will find him. Gabby, way too low in the middle, is isolated in the cogs. Can't lifesteal True and is down. He's dead, just a bit out of position there. Great target prioritization, but they still find Lelouch. 2 for 3 so far. Natsumi trying to hold this ground up front. Carl now, a massive beast in the middle. Cuckoo does fall. Xavius managing to force that away. Natsumi, time-lapse already used. Dispose again from Raging, and the chain stuns from the familiars are enough. Only Xavius left. Carl looking for the captain now. Running in. Avalanche to stall just a little bit, but there's that Dispose once more. A full team wipe going the way of T1.
Yeah, a little bit lucky for T1, honestly, that Carl was able to show up when he did, because he was all the way bot lane when they decided to go for that fight. It's still showing the advantage. Like, T1 took that 4 versus 5 for the first half of the fight until Carl showed up. And everyone has buyback on Polaris, so that's good for them. But they are going to lose another tower. And they should be up in time to contest this Roshan if they have to.
Yeah, respawns are still fairly short. Roshan's still fairly healthy. T1 didn't really do too much damage to it at all in that last foray in. So, gonna have time to respond. T1 not gonna force the issue without Gabby around as well. But that's all outer towers gone now for Polaris. For Polaris, I mean, these fights have been going topsy-turvy. We see some great angles. We see them finding Whitemon. It doesn't shape up to be enough. What do they need to fix up here in Polaris' end?
They need to somehow go back in time and fix the links. It's hard to look at. Like, Natsumi's damage will help them out a lot because they are taking so long to get those kills. That'll be a big deal for them. I'm wondering also if we're gonna see the Death Buff go for the shard. The problem is, I mean, you kind of need the Shivas, but you also really want the shard because it's so good. So that could really help them out a little bit for the Lelouch. You know, he's going for the Lincolns. That's going to take some time, and it's not really going to be a big game changer. So maybe a shard for the Death Prophet as the Daedalus for Natsumi.
I'm just looking for a little bit more itemization here. The Fear coming through from Force could be good. And again, that full Daedalus for Natsumi still a ways off here for the Weaver. T1 with the Aegis up, going to be looking to play. Gabby scouting forward again on the Monkey. Gets a Paladin Sword from Cuckoo as well, clearing out a neutral from high ground. Going to be feeling good. Taking the outpost. Revealing their position, so Polaris will have time to back off. Natsumi is still scurrying around here, though.
They are pushing top for Polaris, so they are, they want to try to take this tier 2, maybe force someone, or maybe not. Lucius going mid. I'm like, is he going mid? Is he going top? This guy's confusing me. I'm sure his opponents are equally confused. But yeah, he is cutting the creep wave here, which is what he has to do. Xavius, though, lucky with the Spire Legs, able to keep some space between him as well as Raging Potato. In the meantime, though, T1, they're knocking on the bottom tier 1.
Yeah. Going on to that tower there down bot. Immediate TP's out. Avalanche toss to stall just a bit, clearing out the creep wave as well. The Cuckoo's around. He has the raid pack. He is going to be able to get that siege going for the team. Creep cutting still being done by Natsumi Bot, so they don't have too much time for backdoor kicks back in. They're managing this opening quite well from Polaris. Backdoor kicks up, range rack stays safe, but they lose the melee. So I believe T1's still going to be happy. Still 3.5 minutes left on Aegis, and they've got the Ags on Carl, so with a refresh, double Eye of the Storm Ags upgrade, that is pretty devastating in these fights.
If they can somehow get like a 5-man coil with a cog that pushes them all out of the coil, that could actually be a thing, but this, it's like wishful thinking. And Gabby, he's just gonna go hit the racks. He's like, what are you guys gonna do? Like, what are you literally? Oh, here we go. This what are you gonna do?
Oh boy. Now, double Eye of the Storm just melts Savius immediately and melts these objectives. Carl can just go for the push now, all by himself. Doesn't need to wait for much more. Damage is just flying. That just gets machine gun down. Doesn't last long at all. The rack's not going to take too long as well. Fortify is out, but trying to get the lift back. Immediate BKB by force. Hookshot misses this time from AU close up. We'll get the cogs trap, but no follow-up. As AU falls as well. Another set of racks going the way of T1. They catch Natsumi with a Hex. And he's gone. No buyback in the Weaver.
That's it.
He bought the Demon Edge. They catch Lelouch. Great dispose from Raging. No buyback as well for Lelouch, and T1 have a clean shot onto those tier 4s. They are held back by backdoor. Creep wave still coming in from the mid. They should still be able to have enough time without those two big buybacks here. And the GG's called.
Yeah. Polaris holding that GG just a little bit, making them work for it. But in the end, from the start, we thought, T1 maybe a slightly better team. Polaris had a tough DPC tournament. They did do well in this so far, but with that draft, with the Weaver carry, which can work, but T1's just more solid all over, Monkey King can do a lot, whereas Weaver really needs to be ahead in terms of network.